Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of Marcel Mindset TV. All right. Remember, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button below. And if you find any type of value from this episode that we're here to deliver, that we're delivering on a weekly basis, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right. It's very important you subscribe. It's very important that you hit the like button because you want to get this content out there. We want people to grow. We want people to develop. We want to see people have money in their bank account. We want to see people start enjoying their life. We want to see people with financial freedom. We want to see people with wealth, generational wealth. We really want to see these things happening for you. So make sure you're sharing this video to other people. We don't want to be a gatekeeper and not give out information. We want to share information, right? And that's why I brought a special guest on the show. Honestly, I'm honored and I'm humbled to have this guest on my show. She put out so much good content that can really help people advance themselves, advance their future generation. So you're going to want to get out your pen, your notepad, take some notes, because today on the show, I'd like to introduce Philly. How you doing, Philly?
Good. How are you today? I'm doing awesome.
Good. I'm doing well, and I'm actually very excited. I got my pen and my notepad here because I'm going to take extensive notes because I want to learn, I want to excel, I want to get ahead of this financial game.
Good. Yes. Okay. Honestly, when it comes to financial freedom, it's definitely a fun topic to get into. So I can't wait to do that with you and the viewers today.
Yeah, that's exciting. Great. And, for our viewers out there in our audience, who is Philly and what inspired you to start Motherly Instinct Leading Finance?
Yes. So Philly is actually a mother of three. I am a Canadian born as well. My background is West Africa and the country would be Ghana. So what inspired me to be a financial advisor, mainly the fact that I wasn't educated myself, knowing that I had three kids, and I'm a Canadian born. My parents never really taught me anything about money because their mindset was work hard and save. But I'm sure all of us can agree that work hard and save doesn't work in an environment or in a country that we're living in, as long as inflation is in the corner. So what happened was last year, I found out I was pregnant at 5 months. And everybody knows in terms of a pregnancy term, that's 9 months, but I didn't have 9 months to prepare. I only had 4. So with keeping that in mind, knowing that I only had about 2 months to prepare for my maternity leave, I actually just took the opportunity to reach out to an advisor for help, just to see, hey, what are some things that I can do or implement while I'm on maternity leave? So we took a look at our numbers and she taught me a lot of financial concepts as well that I never knew either from school or wasn't taught amongst my peers, or even when it comes to the internet. You can only get so much, but when you get those knowledge from the internet, it's like, how does this apply to me? How is this customizable to my situation? So again, within our second appointment, I was heavily engaged. I'm like, listen, you've taught me so many financial concepts. Like, how do I get to be like you? How do I get to learn more? And then that's what she just further explained to me, like, hey, you know what? My firm has an apprenticeship program. You're more than welcome to join and partake in the situation. So ideally, you have a 9-month window to complete your financial advisor role. And I did it in 4. Reason being, I needed the deadline to make sure that when my mat leave is over, I'm making money. But I don't want to return to a job that I already don't like. And again, just to have the freedom to be with my kids while they're growing. And amongst all that whole process, my dad actually had a stroke. So even around that time, knowing that I knew some financial concepts already, I was very, very grateful that the opportunity came at the time that it did. Because again, if my dad had the stroke and I had no knowledge about, does he have his CPP? What are his contributions? Does he have insurance? If I didn't tap into that, moment where I was able to enlarge in my concepts of financial literacy, I would be stuck. I would literally be stuck. So with being an advisor, it's almost like I speak with conviction, because I feel like a lot of the times people don't understand that even though life is going, it's very fast. Time can be your best friend or your biggest enemy if you don't have a plan. So that's something that I really push to teach people going forward. Like, hey, let's make it a conversation. Have you ever thought about the what ifs? I feel like the way our society is set up, we're so into instant gratification that we don't realize that things do come up. And I think a lot of people think that they're invincible to a lot of things until that hiccup happens. So that's basically what stemmed from doing motherly instinct, even with being a mom, like I use the motherly instinct in the sense that if somebody ever does feel comfortable to come to me, I want them to already pre-understand that I would never lead you astray. In my logo, I have an elephant, and the elephant encompasses leadership, taking care of, protection. I feel like I exude that subconsciously. So at least that way, when people do reach out to me, they don't feel like embarrassed or overwhelmed or anxious. It's like, hey, listen, you took a step, pat yourself on the back. Let's see what I can help you with. So that's where the inspiration basically stems from.
Okay, and that's very inspirational. And you're not only changing your family's financial future, but you're also doing it for other people out here, which is
Yeah.
really admirable. So I respect you for that. And
Thanks.
at the end of the show, we'll give all your information so people can start reaching out to you. People can get connected to you. People can start changing their financial future, not only for themselves, for their family and their future generations. So like you said before, we weren't really taught about financial literacy. So it's always good when we have someone who's passionate like yourself on that topic, because, when you're passionate about something, you're really going to go all the way in and figure out how you can help someone. So it's great that, someone could work with you and have you in their corner, helping them with their finances. So what is financial literacy? Like, what is financial literacy, and how important is it for someone to be financially literate?
To me, financial literacy is just having a mindset where you have the tools in your back pocket to propel your future, where you don't have to struggle. You don't have to worry about, can I make my ends meet? I know a lot of the times when most of us go to the banks, it's you go to the teller and you leave. Not a lot of us get to actually make it to that other side of the bank where you're sitting with an advisor and they're tapping into, hey, we noticed that you have this in your account. So for me, my definition of financial literacy would just be being able to understand how money works. How can money be beneficial to you? How can you use money and the education as a tool to at least get you from point A to point B? I know a lot of the times when people come on social media, I've noticed they say a lot of like clickbait things, again, just so they can use people's vulnerability for their own gain. And I feel like that shouldn't be the case. Financial literacy should be something that's very, very spoken about often. I can speak for myself. Like, I come from a background where we don't talk about money. Me and my brothers don't speak, hey, what's in your account? Do you have this in place? What are you saving towards? Because money is almost like a taboo type of conversation. But I'm just basically here just to teach people, hey, you don't have to be nosy, but are you aware of this? Do you understand that the Bank of Canada has hiked the interest again? Do you understand how this will affect you? So I'm just basically here just to make sure I'm changing the narrative in a sense. I'm making it comfortable, making it easy. Because again, when it comes to money, a lot of people don't like talking about it because they look at it like you're in my business, but it's a mindset thing. So as long as people are open to the opportunity to understand what it is and how they can get themselves from point A to point B, that's why I'm there to let them know, hey, I'm here to help. But at the same time, when it comes to financial literacy, if you have a closed-minded mindset, you're not going to get far. Things will seem too good to be true, or it's going to come across as a scam. And I'm just here to just change the narrative, also show that there's representation. People like me can succeed in this field and things of that sort. So, yeah.
Okay. And that's very important that, you're not making it taboo, because like you said, financial literacy has been so taboo. We don't want to make that taboo. We want to have those conversations.
Exactly.
We want to know about, our money, how we could save, how we can invest. We want to know about money. Money's an important topic, so that's very important that you're making it something that's not taboo, because it has been taboo for a very long time, whether that's been a societal thing.
Long.
Yeah, way too long. Whether the society made it taboo, whether the education made it taboo, whether the system made it taboo. I don't know who made it taboo, but we're not going to make it taboo, and that's why we have this platform, because we don't want to gatekeep. Exactly. We want the information out there. So how can someone get better with their money?
So there's a lot of components, but to just make it simple and sweet, it starts off with two things: mindset and discipline. So if somebody comes to me and they say, hey, Philly, I want to be able to save 10K. The first thing I take a look at is, what does your cash flow look like? I literally had an appointment with somebody earlier where they were like, I heard this thing about 50% of your money goes here, 30% goes to this. I said, sweetie, no, you cannot say I want to invest if we don't know what's left over. And I think a lot of the times, if somebody doesn't have the mindset to be disciplined, to make a sacrifice, then that becomes hard. Or if somebody's not open-minded to different solutions, then there's no room for growth. Yeah.
Yep. So you gotta be open-minded, because that's the key. If you're
You got to be
open-minded,
open-minded. Exactly.
extremely
If you're
open-minded.
not open-minded, you're almost going to be a little bit defensive when solutions are being provided. Maybe the message that I'm trying to like teach or portray won't hit the same because it's like you already have your reservation. So I tell people all the time, discipline and sacrifice are things that are essential. Otherwise, there will be no room for improvement. 100%.
Yes, that's right. And is saving money important, for someone, like, because we talk about money, and is saving money
Mhm.
important, and is it better to save money or pay off debt?
So that I believe is almost kind of a trick question for two reasons. Reason being, if somebody's cash flow is literally in the negative, the first thing I'm looking at is how much interest are you paying on a month-to-month basis? I'm sure most of us understand, like if we're paying a credit card and we keep paying the minimum balance, you'll notice like, okay, hey, I'm paying every month. My credit is showing that I'm making my payments on time, but my score is being affected. Reason being, if I can't take a look at, again, the cash flow is really an important thing. So when it comes to saving, I do tell people to save because a little goes a long way. But if I'm able to analyze the situation where I'm like, listen, you need to save, but you also need to get rid of debt because most of your interests are eating up your paycheck, then that's kind of where I'll push the paying off the debt first via saving. But even with savings, a lot of the times, a lot of people have um, like emergencies, transmission blew, or there's a medical expense that now has to be like taken care of. But it depends on a client to client basis. If I just see from what I'm able to pull that, hey, you're in a position where we can save, let's start saving. Or if I say, hey, maybe the first 6 months, let's not worry about saving right now. Let's just make sure that we take into account how much interest is being pulled into your bills or things of that sort. That's kind of where I would look at it. But on a client to client basis, one isn't better than the other, but it just depends on what's the situation right now. And then that's kind of the areas that we focus on.
Okay, so it kind of sounds like it's a situation to situation based thing. Like if
Yeah.
someone's, if the interest is eating all their money, then maybe they might
Mhm.
want to, pay off that debt. So it all depends on their situation.
Exactly. It
Okay.
depends. Yeah. But I know for sure if some people already have savings already, then I say, hey, let's not touch it. But I tell people a lot that I've noticed just from a client to client basis that we are actually emotionally attached to our savings, right? A lot of times people are like, oh, you know what? Like, I don't want to touch my savings because I work so hard. But it's like, okay, you have to understand that your interest is growing every single day. Unfortunately, you might have to exhaust your savings. And I know for a lot of people, because that emotional attachment is there, they're looking like, I work so hard for my money. I don't want these lenders to take it. But then it's like, you know what? If you keep this pattern going for about a year, then you would wish when that year passed that you took the initiative to dip into your savings to rebuild it faster. So I tell people sometimes it depends on them. I definitely don't push, but savings works better when you eliminate the debt because you're able to save quicker, right? So that's usually sometimes, again, depending on the mindset where they are, where I'm able to help, whether it's like, hey, let's pay off the debt quickly or let's save and then work towards those. But it depends. It's different from client to client. But generally speaking, one is not better than the other, but it just depends on the situation and the pot that I'm working with.
Yes. And that's why people need to book their appointment with you. They need to book their appointment with Philly to figure out what situation they're in and how they can get themselves
Yeah.
maybe out of debt or how they can grow their money. Everybody needs a coach. Every single individual needs a coach,
Mm-hmm.
right? Someone holding you
Mm-hmm.
accountable, someone looking at your finances, right? Sometimes when you're in the picture, you can't see, when you're in the frame, you can't see the picture. So
It's
Philly's someone
true.
that can see your situation from the outside. So it's important
That's
that you
right.
book your session with Philly and let her help you, guide you in your financial journey,
Yeah.
right? So we talk about money, right? A lot of people talk about money
Yes.
and making more money. So if someone is looking to make more money, what are some things you should suggest people can do to increase their income?
So, for starters, we live in Canada. I know most of us are aware that when you pick up a second job, you're paying more taxes, right? And I know in terms of propelling yourself in a way where you have like passive income, as an example, entrepreneurship typically is the way to go. But not everybody is at a capacity to run a business. So sometimes I would recommend to people, you know what, are you able to pick up a cash job just so at least you're not fighting the one income to pay bills, still live within your means, be able to do ABC. But in terms of entrepreneurship, that is something that I do encourage a lot of people to tap into, because you know, you want to be in control of your time, you want to be in control of your own your future and all those things. Like me, I'm coming from a world where I come from a medical background. I was a receptionist at a physiotherapy clinic, and one thing that I just never liked was the fact that somebody has say whether I can leave the country to check family or not, or somebody has control over the fact that, hey, my son is sick, I need to pick him up. No, you need to cover your shift. So for me, tapping into my mat leave, I already had that entrepreneurship mindset where like I need to find something that works for me and I can control my time. I can control how much I make. I can control my destiny. But it depends. Like in terms of things like, let's say if somebody's creative, they can do art. They can use that spare time that they have to sell their art. So if somebody's a little bit more crafty, where they make beads, they make jewelry, if they're into culinary dishes that they can do from home, there's so many ways, there's so many things that you can do to attract cash flow, but it depends on what's their passion. So if somebody doesn't really have a passion, then it becomes a little bit hard. And I know during COVID, there was a lot of entrepreneurs that were selling lashes or selling budget books or selling body care. But I think a lot of people don't realize, again, with the society that we're in, we're used to instant gratification. Even cryptocurrency, you know, that was hot once upon a time. And then once reality hit, it was like, okay, I'm taking out my money because I'm losing, or I can't do this because it takes too long. So I feel like if people understood that when you want to become an entrepreneur and you're trying to build extra cash flow, the delayed gratification will come. I use the example all the time. When you plant a tree, it doesn't grow in 3 days. It takes years for it to be solid and strong and full. So that's some of the language that I use from clients on a day-to-day basis. Like, hey, delayed gratification is the way to go. If you are somebody where you're looking for the instant, quick, then there's something that you have to revisit and you have to understand, this is not working. This is why I am or where I am and all those things. So there's so many ways to make money, but it just depends. Like, you know, I understand come tax season, it becomes annoying when you owe the government back, right? So it literally depends. Or sometimes the person doesn't even have to pick up a second job. Sometimes it just goes back to how are you in terms of spending? Are you an impulsive buyer? Maybe there's some things that you have to cut back, right? So I love the fact with what I do, I'm almost, again, holding you accountable, because if you're not seeing what's wrong, at least somebody from the outside looking in is telling you. Now, are you open to changing, right? So I can use the example, like when I first started, the first 3 months, I stopped doing my nails. I stopped going to do my hair just because I wanted to see how much I could save. The moment I was able to do it, I'm like, there's no way this person can't do the same thing, because I've personally done it myself. So now I'm almost at a place where it's just like, hey, if I'm being invited to a wedding, maybe I'll consider getting my hair done. But if it's not necessary, then there's no need to purchase that, because that money that I'm using to look good constantly every month can literally go to bills or can go towards my savings, right? So sometimes it's not even about picking up a second job. Sometimes it's, hey, what are you doing with your money when you get paid? Then that's when we're able to go to BCD. Yeah.
Very well said. Sometimes it's not about, you know, how much you make. It's about what you do with what you make. So cut back on some of those expenses. Like Philly said, you might have to cut back on a few things, but that's okay, because that's going to propel you further on your financial journey. And I love how you said delayed gratification. That's the key right there, is delay that gratification. Okay. Stay patient. So we did speak about mindset, right? And this is Mindset TV, and mindset is my passion. So what is the difference between a poor money mindset and a rich money mindset?
Poor mindset is scarcity. They're scared to take risks. Everything is, are you sure? With the poor mindset, I feel like sometimes it's such a negative impact in the sense of they can't escape the reality because they're already living in a negative, sheltered world. With being open-minded and having that rich mindset, you almost unlock so many levels of opportunity. I'm actually coming from a place where naturally I'm always being told, you know, I'm outgoing, I'm so bubbly. But if I had the mindset where I'm almost keeping those good traits about me to myself, I wouldn't grow, right? I love being in in a space where I'm constantly the student and never the most knowledgeable one, because I always want to put myself in a space where I constantly want to learn. And I think that comes from a growth mindset. I also believe reading books help. Paying attention to little things of maybe music that you listen to, or maybe certain social media pages that you follow, and also your environment, right? We all know the term negative Nancy's. Nobody wants to be around a negative Nancy, right? You want to be around somebody that, again, is knowledgeable. Mentorship, I believe, is also a really beautiful thing. With what I do, I have so many mentors to turn to in case if I need questions and helps and things of that sort. So with a poor mindset, again, they're defensive, deflective, negative, scarcity mindset. They're not in a position where they feel like they want to take risks, and that will hold you back 100%. But if you have a rich mindset or a growth mindset, you're constantly looking for opportunities. You're looking for different ways you can engage with people, share ideas. And I know we mentioned a little bit about gatekeeping. For myself, when I tapped into being more financially knowledgeable, I went to all my friends. I said, listen, I know you, you know me. We're not where we need to be. Something's got to give. And the ones that understood made the changes, and the one that didn't are where they're at. Still love them. That doesn't change anything about them. But then that also lets me know, you know what, with where I'm trying to go, you can't go with me. That's okay. But when you're ready, I'm here. Right. Even in terms of collaborations, when people are so worried about their business, it's like they don't want to like teach people, hey, these are the shortcuts that I did to get to where I am. So I want to put you on. That's not a like having that rich mindset allows you to have that room when everyone is at an opportunity to eat at your table. Whereas if you have a poor mindset, you want to gatekeep, you don't want to share the secrets, and that's where you also don't grow because you're blocking your blessings that way, trying to keep people afar. So, with what I do, like I host workshops every month with my colleagues because at the end of the day, we all want to be at the top. But if I was those people where I don't want to put my colleagues on because I want to make more income than them or I want to know more people, God doesn't bless people like that, right? So it's just making sure that I'm just open-minded, easygoing, friendly, and again, being receptive to feedback also, I believe, makes or breaks your mindset. There's some people where you could just be giving them advice, they're taking it personal. And it's like, no, take everything with a grain of salt. If Simon, as an example, shared, hey, these are some things that I think would be beneficial to your brand. Okay, these are some things that I like and these are some things that I don't like. But with a poor mindset, somebody may look at Simon and, oh, Simon's just a hater. He's just preying on my downfall. So I think the mindset also stems from your environment, how you were brought up, and then the habits that you keep. Those are some of the things that I would tap into in terms of rich mindset versus poor mindset.
That's great. We want to develop that rich money mindset. That's the way to go.
Exactly.
That's where all the blessings comes. We want to keep that growth mindset. So start to develop that, start working on that. And there's people out there that can help you develop that, like Philly. So develop your rich money mindset. It's so important for your future. Okay. So inflation, right? We talk about inflation. We see the numbers going up, and people are starting to become aware of what inflation is. So, what is inflation for our viewers out there who may not have the knowledge of that? And how can someone kind of beat inflation if it's possible?
Yes. So I love talking about inflation actually. So usually what I do is I'll ask someone, hey, what is your definition of inflation? And they'll tell me everything is going up, which they're not lying. They're correct. So the cost of living is going up. I think we're sitting about at a rate of 7 to 8%, but the dollar can't catch up to the rate that it's excelling at, right? So with inflation, I personally feel the pinch. Like I was coming from a place where I was always facing formula shortages because you go there, limit 2 per person. Actually, when I used to buy formula for my firstborn, formula at the time was $30 a can. It probably went up an extra $10 in just in a span of like 4 years. Then that makes you think, oh, like I can't do this. And again, I was on a government assisted income, right? I only was making 60% of my pay. So inflation for me was just my big enemy. It's an enemy for a lot of us as well, because we work so hard for our dollar, but you got to eat. So if you are not in a position to buy organic things, healthy things, you're going to resort to the cheaper things that are unhealthy, right? And with inflation, I tell people all the time, you want to put yourself in a position where when you are working hard for your money in 10 years, you want to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? And I think people don't also understand the formula to wealth. So that's literally where investing comes into play. But if somebody's not in a position to invest, then it makes it hard for them to catch up when inflation is constantly increasing. So I tell people all the time, the 4 things that I look at to beat inflation is, again, your cash flow. What does your debt situation look like? Do you happen to have an emergency fund, again, which is your account that you're able to tap into if you ever have like a rainy day or something happens? And when you take a look at those things, amongst having protection, now you're in a position to protect yourself properly, Because imagine you work so hard, there's no protection. Now your income is stifled. Inflation doesn't care. It just moves at the rate of time, right? So there's so many like moving pieces to inflation to making sure that you're okay, you're protected, that you're above water. But inflation, investing is basically that big tool to make sure that, hey, if you have your money in the bank, do you understand how quickly your rate is running out? I tell people all the time, hey, what percentage is your bank giving you in your money? A lot of the times I don't even hear 1%. On average, the highest I've seen so far is about 0.6. Now, imagine saving your money in the bank for 10 years and it's only gone up $15. A lot of people then resort to just storing the money cash. But then the problem is storing it cash, the value drops over time. It's not as sufficient as where it could be to 5 years later, right? So with inflation, I do run an investor profile questionnaire, which basically means who are you in terms of an investor? If you were to get a letter and the statement says, hey, this pot of money that you invested, it's gone down about 2,500. That helps me know if you're a conservative investor, if you're a little bit more balanced, if you're a little bit more growth, or if you're extremely aggressive. With these banking institutions, again, they'll tell you numerous times, open a tax-free savings account. But what is a tax-free savings account? Or put your money in your savings. But how long are you going to have my money double for me? Those are the things that people don't know and aren't taught. And that's what makes people think, banks are scams and this institution is a scam. And it's like, no, these are beautiful tools that you can use to enjoy your retirement. But because it's not spoken about enough or it's not mentioned enough, those are things that just become afterthoughts.
Right. And that's why you're here on the show, because we want to bring someone like you to educate the community, educate people out there. Right.
Exactly.
So, tap in with Philly. All right. So thank you for that advice on inflation, and make sure you're educating yourself on inflation and what it is. Don't get just swept away because you don't understand these terms, these financial terms.
Yeah.
You're not financially literate, right? Because, these are things that weren't taught to us, right? Unfortunately, it wasn't. The education system didn't have a program on debt, investing, saving, inflation, which is unfortunate because, that's the reality of life and what we're dealing with. And we need to understand these things, right? We go to work to make money. So why would we not learn about money? We need money for everything pretty much. So, these are things that are important for us to learn. Yeah. So, we have a couple more questions here on the show, and, I'm just sitting back and just learning so much information.
That's good.
It's extremely valuable to have you here, so like I said, I'm honored to have you, and thank you so much for, everything you're adding onto the show. So you have an extremely bright future. And I want to ask you, what are some investments that you suggest people look into if they want to build some wealth?
So in terms of investments, that always, in terms of that type of conversation, gets really tricky. Reason being, it kind of almost goes back to the poor mindset versus the rich mindset. It's more the gentlemen that I face this issue with more than females. Because again, if somebody's not understanding how are they in terms of an investor and what position they're in to invest, I believe that gets a little bit tricky. So like I said, a lot of people were into crypto. I know now the hottest thing is day trading. Forex is also a thing. But I've noticed from my own personal experience that with doing those things, there's no education around, do you understand the purpose of investing? So I tell people right off the gate, investments are meant for your retirement pot. You can only depend on CPP to take you so far. And CPP, for those who don't know, that's just your Canada pension plan here, right? So with the CPP, a lot of people don't know, but on a month-to-month basis, not even the maximum is about $1,200. So imagine if I was already working a job and every 2 weeks I'm trying to survive off of $1,200. Baby boomers right now, they can't live off of that $1,200 per month, right? So that's why they're still working. So you want to make sure while you're in your prime and you're young that you invest and start early, so that way when you're in your 60s, you're not at Walmart being a greeter, right? But when it comes to investing and things to invest in, it literally starts from how knowledgeable are you when it comes to investments? How comfortable are you when it comes to contributing money? A lot of people, because again, it kind of almost stems to the instant gratification. And I feel like a lot of people also aren't transparent in terms of investments. A lot of people like to decorate it that it's pretty, it's easy, it's quick. But again, if you're not in a position to invest, I can't even have a conversation with you to say, hey, have you ever taken a look at this stock? This is its portfolio. This is how it's performed. So investments, it's tricky. It's very, very tricky to get into because I already have to understand how are you in terms of an investor? Are you a growth mindset person? Are you aggressive? If you gave me $10,000 to work with and year three, your 10,000 has now plummeted to 7,000, what would you do then? Are you going to say, hey, Philly, give me my money, I want to pull it out? Or are you going to say, hey, you know what, this is a long-term thing, I'm not thinking about it, I know the history will correct itself? Those are the things that people don't talk about, because again, they're talking about the glitter, they want to make it look pretty. But investments, you can invest in anything. Real estate is a beautiful thing also that people can tap into for investments, but again, it goes back to the drawing board. Are you in a position to invest? If not, let's make sure that you are, and then we can revisit it in a couple months or maybe in a year or two. But that's my advice in terms of investments. There's so many tools, but it just depends on where are you currently in this pot and how can I get you from point A to point B.
Yes. Okay. That's actually great advice that you have given, but make sure you guys are, coming up with an investment strategy. Like Philly was
That's
saying,
right.
$1,200 from CPP is not going to be enough, right? $1,200 for most people isn't enough for a week. So,
Exactly.
make sure, you have an investment strategy, just don't live in the moment. Think about the
Yes.
future, be in the now, which is important. I always tell people, be in the now, but also be thinking about the future and have a plan for the future.
Exactly.
Yes. And you mentioned entrepreneurship, right? And it's entrepreneurship is trendy. People talk about it all the time. People, throw it around. People are on TikTok being like, "Oh, leave your job and be an entrepreneur." People are saying, "Don't go to school and just be an entrepreneur." So it's something that's out there, and I like to have conversations about it. So, what does entrepreneurship mean to you? And is entrepreneurship for everyone?
So entrepreneurship for me means freedom. Reason being, again, I don't want to say I was ever the employer that, or the employee that I never liked taking orders, but I always liked working in a space that I was able to make a connection with people. But entrepreneurship literally allowed me the freedom to work from home. So actually what I do sometimes every weekend, I'll drive to my parents just to like monitor my dad, make sure I can help my mom when she's going to work. If I was working a regular 9 to 5, it's like I'm tight. If I don't show up to work just because somebody is ill, now my income is stifled. So with entrepreneurship, for me, it literally allows the freedom to make money wherever I am, be present in my family's day-to-day activities or special moments. And I love the fact that it just opens your mind up to so many opportunities. With being an employee, unfortunately, the people that I will only know will be whoever comes into the store or my coworkers. I'm not really into that routine where you're somewhere for 5 years and nothing has changed. There's no growth. I pay attention to little things like that. So entrepreneurship, again, it just gives me that window of freedom. I love that, I love the fact that if I even work hard for 2 years, I can enjoy the fruits of my labor because I made sure I did everything right. I love the journey of going through the lows and also going through the highs. And I think, again, like when it was a big thing during COVID, I think a lot of people weren't prepared that, with entrepreneurship comes a different type of investment of your time, right? A lot of people say, you know what, when you're an entrepreneur, you have all the freedom, but sometimes when you're working around the clock, you don't realize as well that you're trading your time for money, but in a different way. So me personally, I love entrepreneurship. I always knew I was entrepreneurship minded. It was just a matter of finding the career that it would stick to make sure that I can keep it going.
That's great. That's great because, entrepreneurship is something that, I support 100%, but you definitely have to have the right mindset to be an entrepreneur because, some people think it's all glamorous. Some people think, oh, big money. But, it might even be more difficult than, working a job because you know what? Sometimes, at your job, you get your pay every 2 weeks, but be an entrepreneur, you might get paid this month and then next month you get paid the month after.
That's right.
So, entrepreneurship is a different game, but it does give you that freedom and that flexibility, and it allows you to be more creative and be yourself and create something for your own and your future generation. And no one can come to you and say you're fired, right? That's you.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yes. And I think with entrepreneurship as well, I tell people a lot, like customer service also plays a role. Like, fun fact about me, I've actually worked at Tim Hortons. That was like my first job when I was in high school. And working at Tim Hortons taught me patience. It taught me reading the room. It taught me how to engage with customers. Like, they always say if you're working for somebody, the customer is always right, right? Knowing when to bite your tongue and knowing when to stand up for yourself. I feel like customer service is something that a lot of people don't tap into as well. And I feel like when you are an entrepreneur, you have so much to lose compared to when you're being an employee. It's a safe market. You work. If you don't get something done today, no problem. You'll get a warning. But at least if you're an entrepreneur, like everything is on the line because your income depends on your habits, your routine, things that you do while you conduct your business. So, I know for sure entrepreneurship isn't for everybody, but that's one thing I learned from the beginning. Customer service is very, very, very important. Um, Being tardy, showing up on time. There's so many things that fall under that umbrella that I think a lot of people don't understand. But again, if somebody at least is out there being transparent about it, at least you're giving that person the opportunity to say, maybe I can do this or maybe I can't. Imagine if everybody was an entrepreneur. Sometimes I'm like, who would be a police officer? There's some career paths that we do need, you know? But again, it's a whole mindset thing. If you're not mentally prepared and mentally tough to go through the lows and then enjoy the highs, it's definitely something I wouldn't recommend for everybody. But again, as long as you're disciplined and you know the reward that will come out of it, I tell everybody, go ahead and try. Why not?
Yep, that's true. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. All right. So I do have one final question, Philly, to ask you here on the show.
Okay.
I don't want to end the show because a bunch of gems have been dropped. We might have to do a part 2.
Yeah.
Comment below if you want a part 2 to this. All right. If you want to see a part 2 of Philly, make sure you comment below to the video and make sure you share this video, right? This is a lot of information. This is money right here. This information is currency. All right. So share this information. Right. Yes. So, being a mother, right? We're going to have mothers that view the show. What are some 100%. Things that, you will do to prepare your child for the future financially? Like, how can mothers out there prepare their child for the future financially?
Yes, this is always my favorite topic because the whole motherly instinct ties into literally my day-to-day living with my kids. So I love being a mom. I love everything that comes with it. I love the good. I love the bad, everything. So in terms of securing my kids financially, like I said, I'm a Canadian born. My parents came from Ghana, so they weren't financially literate in terms of things that they can put in place for me and my brothers, which was an RESP. My dad had that mindset where he felt like anything government related was a scam, right? Whereas my mom, she was very open to certain things when it came to me and my brothers. So if somebody had told her, hey, like, put this in place for your kids, my mom would know, for the kids' sake, because I don't want them to struggle, I'll put this in place. But my dad, on the other hand, the government's a scam, this, that. So I'm one of those people that unfortunately I had to rely on OSAP to go to school. And with having OSAP, a lot of people tell me like, I don't think I'll ever be able to pay it off. And unfortunately, it's a financial burden that is, I don't want to say it's bad, because again, if you're not in a position where you have money saved to go to school, that blanket is there. But again, people need to understand the pros to OSAP and the cons to OSAP. So the first thing I tell moms right away is, hey, let's just make sure that your kids financially don't have to depend on OSAP, because baby bonus is given to all mothers, right? So as long as you could at least put $50 away, they don't have to work. Another thing that I tell people as well is insure your kids. So again, because money and protection, all those things are a little bit taboo. A lot of people look at it like, well, putting insurance on your kid means you're like hoping for them to die. No. If you understand the vehicles and you're educated on the vehicles, you will then decipher, what, this was taught to me this way. I want to have this in place for my kids. Me being a mom, that's something that I wear on my sleeve before anything else. That is my true identity. So I want to make sure when my kids are young adults that, yes, they'll go to work, they can work their job, but I want to make sure, what the things that I didn't have in place because nobody taught me, there's no reason as to why, with the knowledge that I have now, that I'm holding you guys back. I want those generations to come, to be able to understand money, be put in good environments, have great jobs, because like we said, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. We do need people to fulfill certain careers to have the world run at the rate that it's running. So with my kids, like, we even do something sometimes, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when I was young, we would drive past McDonald's and they'll say there's rice at home. I do that with my kids, but I do it in a way that, hey, here's 25 cents, put in your piggy bank. Then, my son will come, oh, mom, I want McDonald's. I'll be like, hey, do you have enough money in your piggy bank to buy McDonald's? We'll count the coins. Okay, cool. You have your 5.15. Let's go buy it. Well, you're $2 short. Okay, let's just resort with eating rice. And then if you're good, we'll build up your allowance and you'll be able to buy. So I do things on a day-to-day basis with them that they understand it. They'll be able to appreciate it. And then when they're adults, they won't repeat the same mistakes that I do. So that's kind of how I do. I make everything like a fun learning lesson with them. And I just feel like for moms that aren't educated about it, it's definitely something more of, I would feel really, really crappy if something were to come up where like they got injured or if they weren't able to go to school, that if I just took something serious to just put something aside for them to make sure that when they're older, they're okay, I would feel really poo-poo about it, honestly. So with my kids, like I said, they're my identity, they're my everything. And I obviously want to make sure as a mom that I take care of them as much as I can, but also don't have them grow up in a society where they're very bratty because their parents put things in place. So again, morals, principles, those things are big, big factors. Just so at least when they grow older, they're respectable Canadians and they're good to their peers. So yeah.
Yeah, and you're doing a phenomenal job of that. Philly, aka Motherly Instinct Leading Finance. You're not only preparing your family, but you're preparing our audience and other individuals out there for financial success. So we appreciate you. We're thankful that you got on the show. And how can people get started with you? How can people reach you? And you know what? I want to see some more content from you. I want to maybe see you on a YouTube channel because you got a bunch of knowledge out that you can share to people out there. That could be another stream for you. Maybe you should start getting a YouTube channel too. You're ready.
I know. I'm ready. I know. Actually, it's been brought up a lot, but
yeah,
I'll get there eventually.
You will. No question. No doubt in my mind. Yeah. So how can people reach you, Philly?
Yes. So my Instagram handle, Motherly Instinct Leading Finance. That's usually the best way. My email as well. It's always open, info@motherlyinstinctleadingfinance.com. There, at least on my Instagram portfolio, see that I have workshops. Like I mentioned, we have them on a month-to-month basis. Those are usually the best ways in terms of reaching out to me. But one thing that I do want to share is a lot of people think that when we're having consultations that there's a fee. I just want you guys to know to share at the gate. I'm doing the Lord's work. I am literally the Jehovah Witness of finance. There's no fee in terms of a consultation because I'm eagerly here to help. So if you do ever come across somebody that says, hey, our consultation is like $100, please run for the hills because over here it's free 99.
Free 99. I like that. Free consultation. If it's free, why not sign up for it? We all know we like free stuff. Let's sign up for that free consultation.
Why not? Exactly.
See if it's the right fit for you and start on that financial path, that financial freedom journey, that we all deserve. It's in every one of us. We deserve to be wealthy. We deserve to be financially free. We just need the right education. And we're grateful that people like Philly are out there providing that information to us. So again, thank you, Philly, aka Motherly Instinct Leading Finance, for coming on the show. It's been an honor. It's been a great one. It's been educational. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button below. And if you find value, which I know you did, a bunch of value was dropped, a bunch of jewels, a bunch of gems on the show, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Again, thank you, Philly, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And I'll probably see you guys in part 2.
All right, part 2. All right. Thank you again, Philly. Take care.
No worries. You as well.